This is Diana. She's with the Peaches Truck and Poppy and Rose, where we're doing this nice little conversation. My name is Matt Geller. I'm with the National Food Truck Association, the Regional Association for Southern California. We're going to be talking about food trucks, starting a little bit about organizing and a little bit about the restaurant business and the transition between the two. First thing I'd love to talk to you about is how you got started, why you got started, and what your first few months was like.
Well, we got started about 3 years ago, so in 2013. My husband is a chef, and I was the director of marketing for a small restaurant group. And he was looking for another job at the time, and I saw this post on Craigslist for, go on this show and win a food truck. And we just did it on a lark, and we competed in Food Truck Face-Off, and we won a food truck for a year. And we'd never set foot on a food truck before. We didn't know anything about the food truck industry, and we basically just got this food truck and rode off into the sunset with it. The first few months were incredibly hard. We launched the food truck in fall, so in October, so that's going into the slow season. Now we know. At the time, we were just so excited to have the food truck that we just kind of were driving around and we didn't know where to go. We didn't know anything about lots at the time. We slowly learned it through the Mobile Food Vendors Association, learned about lots, learned about organizers and working with them. But at the time when we first opened, we just kind of drove around and we were like, how about right here, and just kind of parked somewhere. And we definitely got ourselves into like a few pickles that way. And then slowly over time, we were, the first few months were incredibly hard because you have to learn about booking. You have to learn about streamlining your menu. You have to learn about speeding up your ticket times. And even though he and I had restaurant background, the food truck industry is its own beast. And so we had to learn all of these sort of new skill sets to be successful in food trucks. And the first few months, and I think I was telling you this earlier, we would just take any shifts that we could. Because at the time we just didn't have the relationships, we didn't have the brand recognition, we didn't have any of those things, we didn't have the social media following, so we were so new and so invisible in the industry that we just took whatever jobs we could. That included, sometimes working triples. So, Ryan and I would wake up at, we'd be out the door at 7 a.m. To go up to our commissary, get the truck prepped and ready, and then drive it to location, work lunch, have a little bit of a break, drive to dinner, work dinner, have a little bit of a break, drive to a bar, work till 2 in the morning. So that's what, like a 19, 20-hour day, something like that. And I think I was joking with you earlier. We actually got to a point where I thought maybe I would buy a camping cot and just lay it in, but don't do this, guys. Lay it in the food truck and that would be our sleeping quarters between services. But those first few months you really, and I think with any business you have to be willing to do whatever it takes. In addition to that, because we are a barbecue concept and because my husband has a culinary background, so much of our food is made from scratch. We actually worked out of a commissary kitchen, and what happened there was the only time slot we could afford financially was between 9 p.m. and 8 a.m. So he would have to work services and then stay up all night smoking meat, making aioli, curing pickles, and then sleep for 2 hours, get back up and get on the truck. And that's, it was a really tough first few months, but it was really the only way that we could have made it.
Right, and one of the things that I think a lot of new trucks don't take into consideration is where they're going to go, how they're going to interact with customers, how they're going to acquire customers. What was your, when you got into the industry in 2013, it was already an established industry.
Yeah.
And so how did you make your name? How did you acquire customers? I know there were lots out there for you to go to, but how did you make it so you were desirable for lots, and how did you make it so you started to get some of that brand recognition?
We did a few different things. So, my background was in marketing and PR, and so we actually hit the ground running as far as social media. We had our, Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all of that stuff, and we had a website. All of these things are par for the course, especially because you're a food truck and you're not a brick and mortar. People can't just walk right in; they have to find you. So you already have an obstacle there, and you have to make it as easy as possible for people to know where you're going to be. And because you don't have a physical location, that's supporting your branding, you have to go and make yourself visible to all of these people. So in the first few months, we obviously, we try to utilize social media as much as possible. We even did things like I would go through and look up hashtags, people who liked food trucks and would like their stuff, and just any little thing that I could do to get on somebody's radar. And of course, when we would go out to lots, we just went on Vistaprint. We were so bootstrappy. I just went on Vistaprint and made little postcards with pictures of our food and our logo, and we would just hand them out when we would go to lots and stuff like that. Just to introduce ourselves, because, especially when you're brand new, and let's say you're at an event with 4 other trucks and everybody knows who they are, you really do have to work harder in order to get that business. We also had to learn some of the tricks of the trade. So, for example, I used to do this thing. Oh, it's so silly. A couple of things. We try to get creative. So when we would be at bars, I used to serve tables at, when I was in college. I got myself a little a guest checkbook. I got my apron, pulled out my apron, and I went into the bar and took orders. Wow. And
I haven't heard of that one. That's a good one.
I did that. I did it at the Daily Pint for months, and he actually wanted us to. It got to a point where we had regulars, and he wanted us to be there every night. Obviously, we couldn't. But he wanted us to just be basically their restaurant and park in front of their bar every night. But that was, one of the ways that we were kind of able to kind of reach out and really make an impression with people. And, over time, if you take it seriously, if you are putting out a product you're really proud of and that's memorable and that people love, and you do it obviously with great customer service and quickly, and you're providing people a great experience, then over time, you build your reputation. And we get a lot of referrals this way. We cater a lot of weddings and things like that. Our customers have a good experience, and that's kind of how we continue to build that momentum.
Right. So, was there a tipping point? Was there some events that you started to do, or lots that you started to do, where people started to notice you? I think one of the things that I've seen recently is with new trucks, they'll go to a place and they'll say, "Oh, I didn't do well there. I'm not going to go back."
Right. That's the thing. I think it's a few different points. The first is just that it's a business. There are going to be risks. And they have to be calculated risks. And first of all, we have to be good sports. Right. If you made the decision to go somewhere, and you didn't know whether it was going to go well or not, then you have to own that. And we still, even now, 3 years into the business, sometimes we go to events that aren't that great, but you know what, we made the decision to go. Right. And we try to think on a positive, which is that, we may not have, done the sales that we wanted to, but we were in a totally different part of Los Angeles County, and we reached a totally different demographic than we had before. So we always try to make the best of it. And so there's sort of, just to answer your question, the tipping point for us was when I got off of the truck. I think if we look at the trajectory of our business, there were a few different points that kind of took us to the next level. The first one was streamlining our menu. we learned really quickly, my husband's a restaurant chef. He specifically has always cooked dinner. And people, when you're dining at a restaurant, you expect a 15, 20-minute ticket time.
You'll wait.
Yeah, you'll wait, have a cocktail, it's fine. But not at a food truck. You want your food now, you got to get back to your desk, you know what I mean? And so part of it was streamlining production. The way that our line was set up at the time and the way our menu was written at the time was for a full service restaurant. So we started to streamline all of our production. What could we get done? How can we tighten our line so that we can get that food out in 5 to 7 minutes? That's our gold standard at Peaches, is 5 to 7 minutes. But I'll tell you, when I've got my A team on, it's 3 minutes, and everything's still made from scratch.
Right.
So, that was the first game changer for us, was getting to that point. And then the second game changer was when I stepped off the truck. When we first started, I was even driving the truck sometimes. I mean, honk, honk. I was even driving. If it was like a short, distance from the commissary, I would put on my flannel and I would get behind that wheel and I'd be like, excuse me, I gotta get over there. So it was just, my husband, myself, and our sous chef at the time, just the three of us bopping around town. And labor cost was really good, though.
Yeah.
And then we reached a point, it was about spring, the spring after we started. And I started to notice we were getting more emails and more phone calls. And by then we had done a couple sort of big caterings, and it was for kind of high profile, folks. And the other great thing, that we're really grateful for is that we had friends who helped us along the way. So when we first started, we had friends who were like, come to my office building, or, come cater our company party. And so we did have a little bit. And, don't be shy about asking your friends for support, they're
Definitely.
just, there are going to be people in your life who want to help make you a success. So that was a huge help to us as well. And we, did some big events, and then we started getting more calls and more emails, and I started to notice that there were these lots that other trucks were going to, and I was like, how do I go there? And I was on the truck so much, I didn't have time to research it. I didn't have time to pick up the phone and be like, hello, would you like my truck at your location? And so that's what I did. I got off of the truck, I started researching, to be honest, I was looking at other food trucks' calendars to see where they were going. And I went on eventbrite.com and typed in food trucks and started emailing events that said that they were going to have food trucks there. Why can't we be one of them? And so I just went online and started researching places that we could go. And, on occasion, I would actually even, I would be driving on the street and I'd be like, oh, maybe they want a food truck. And I would actually park my car and get out of my car and go in there and just be like, hello, would you like a food truck? 9 times out of 10, they were like, get out of here. But, there were a few times where they were like, yeah, why not, And it was all part of the experience, I actually got kicked out of a couple buildings. I snuck into the Walt Disney building, and tried to get somebody to talk to me, and security came and had to escort me off their premises.
Is this the Burbank Studios? Oh my God.
I was wandering a hallway trying to find someone to talk to.
Food truck?
So, more than once I embarrassed myself. But, it's all part of the experience. And the thing about having a food truck is it is all about the hustle, And because it's very much a grassroots industry, because there isn't necessarily a very concrete paved path that you can take with it, you kind of have to pave your own path and figure it out yourself. I would venture to say that the way that we operate Peaches is probably very different than how some of these other successful food trucks operate their businesses. It's just how they were able to create their path. And mine happened to include a lot of embarrassing myself.
Right. So, one of the things that I tell food trucks is you have to understand your value. And if if you feel your value is of a $12 to $15 an hour employee on the truck, that's one thing. But you might become more valuable answering emails, making phone calls, and creating that hustle, so you can actually bring your food truck to more places. And I think when you're first starting out, your most truck owners just want to be on the truck every last minute.
Yeah.
And you're lucky because you're part of a partnership that works really well. But sometimes the sole proprietors, they're the only ones on the truck.
Yeah.
Or they're the only owner on the truck.
Yeah.
And I think that after you get your systems down, you have to figure out, well, I got to answer these emails.
Yes.
And I'll send out an email for an event, and I know the people that are off the truck and the people that are on the truck.
Yes.
And sometimes the people that are off the truck are the ones that get the business.
Yes.
Faster than the ones.
Well, you know what though? Technology, I mean, you bring up a few different points and that are excellent. One is what we pay our staff. One thing that we, especially when we compare, for example, the restaurant and the food truck, we actually do pay a little bit more of a premium on the food truck because the lifestyle is not predictable.
Right.
And so, you know, in terms of staffing, that's a really good thing to also think about is, you know, what are you willing to pay for somebody to drive around in a food truck and, you know, be like this with you, you know, in a hot summer, you know? And then the other thing that sort of we're talking about is, what was the other point that you made?
Being on the truck versus off.
Yes, being on the truck versus off the truck. Oh, is letting technology work for you? You know, is that the minute, I happen to have a smartphone, but when we had the business, I was like, Ryan, you are getting a smartphone. We're reading emails while we're on the truck, and there were times where I brought my laptop onto the food truck. I hotspotted my cell phone to have internet, and I would answer emails in between taking orders, and that's how we did it. You know, and then sometimes, you know, like we would be resting between our 500 services, and I would just answer emails from my phone. And you have to let the technology work for you.
I think that is so important because when you see a truck that doesn't answer emails,
yeah.
I mean, I emailed a few trucks yesterday,
yeah.
and they got back to me today, more than like almost 27 hours later, and they said, "Oh, yeah, we'd love to do it." I said, "Oh, it's too late. I went with somebody else because you know everything moves very fast in this industry.
It does,
and sometimes you need a cover, sometimes you need." An organizer needs to know right now that they have a truck. So use your smartphone.
Yes, use your smartphone, use technology, and you know, if you have family members who are really, you know, techie, they can help you kind of figure out little tips and tricks to make everything more efficient for you. For example, you know, putting a signature in your email helps people reach you.
Yeah, I mean, the signature block is one of the single most frustrating things I deal with food trucks. Hey, I send out something, got this great event. Hey, I'm interested. Who is this? What's their phone number? Where are they going? You know, and then I have to do a whole other set of tasks just to figure out who they are and how to call them.
Yes.
So a signature block, every single email.
Absolutely. And there are just, you know, and just start thinking about things that would make your life easier. For example, one of the things that I use is there's actually an app that you can use in Gmail, and it's basically pre-written emails. I forget the name of the extension, but it's free, and you literally just go into the extensions part of Gmail and you can add it onto your email. And you can pre-write, like for example, if somebody is interested in catering, you could literally have your standard catering menu already pre-written, and you just tap a button, and then that shoots off an email to them with all of your catering information. So there are little things like that we can take advantage of that just makes things faster, and you know, because especially as food truck owners and small business owners, your biggest asset is your time. Right. And so technology does allow you to kind of maximize every minute, every second.
You have taken the leap, decided that you don't just want a food truck, you also want a restaurant. And now you run a very successful restaurant. What was it like going from food truck to restaurant, not just in the fact that you're dealing with a restaurant, but also that you have to now split your time between, well, now you have two food trucks, but split your time between a restaurant and a food truck, and you have to birth this new restaurant while also making sure that your food truck stays successful and competitive?
Well, I'm not going to say it was easy. It was definitely hard work, and I can say, the restaurant actually was born out of necessity, because we were in this tiny commissary kitchen and we needed a bigger, better space to work out of. And when I first came to visit this restaurant, it was completely different. And our business partner was like, absolutely not, this place is a crap hole. We're not, and we're not doing this. And I said, yes, we are. And we literally just rolled up our sleeves and we started, these were repurposed from these old IKEA tables we found. We had wood cut, we sanded them, we stained them, we tiled all of that ourselves and did the ceilings and the lights and everything. We built everything with our bare hands. And we had friends who came to help, and so we had all of our, people normally, spend a great deal of money on their build out. Well, we did it with our bare hands, and so we saved quite a bit of money that way. And we just opened up thinking it was going to be, sort of this little place, and we would prep out of the kitchen at night, and it turned out to be a success, which is great.
A big success.
Which has its pros and cons, because we got a lot busier a lot faster than we thought we would. Because we opened Poppy and Rose in the summer when the food trucks are really, really busy, and we're popping off. And so it was a really restless several months getting through that first summer. The good thing is that we had more liquidity with the food trucks at the time, and we were able to finance the restaurant in its beginning stages because we happened to be in a busy season with a food truck. The benefit of having both, obviously, is having better facilities. We can do more complicated caterings now because we just have the facilities and the equipment to do it. We have a 2,000 square foot office upstairs, and that houses all of our catering equipment and our central hub, basically. And our bookkeeper, our office manager, myself, we do all of our admin work out of that office. And so it's great because for a number of reasons, we maximize storage, we maximize production. There's sort of a home, for our food trucks. Now that we have two, it's basically like the beating heart, of the operation. And when we have brides and grooms who come for tastings, they come here and they have a place to go. And so it's been great. And the thing about the catering too, which I think every food truck owner will agree, that the catering is, if you can grow that arm of your business, I mean, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
You're going to make it through winters as well.
You're going to make it through winters as well. And one of the ways that we were able to do it, not only with the restaurant, because we refer business to each other, right? So Peaches refers business to Poppy, Poppy refers business to Peaches. And so that actually brings me to, another really important point, which is reinvesting. At every sort of stage of our business, when we had the financial means, we actually reinvested it back into the business. So for example, we knew catering was going to be a very important part of our business. We started buying catering supplies. We started buying nicer platters to do tray pass. We started buying more coolers so we could transport food more efficiently. And so, every time we would have like $100, $200 even, we would reinvest that into something. So one of the things that we pay for, that not all the trucks pay for, is branded deli paper. We started to notice that when we were at these big events, that our food was indistinguishable from everybody else's food. And you may think that this fried chicken sandwich is delicious, but maybe you ordered your food in such a hurry that you're like, which truck did I get this from? And so the branded deli paper is expensive. I'm not gonna lie, I hate writing that check, but it does differentiate our product in more ways than one from our competitors. And especially at the big events, I mean, and not only that, but when people take a photo, even if they don't tag us online, our branding's all over their food. So we have photos of our food floating around doing the marketing work for us that we don't even know about. So, they say that you have to spend money to make money, and it's strategically, yes, and that's what we've kind of tried to do, is finding ways to maximize every dollar and make it work double for us.
Right. That's great. I just want to step back into catering. One of the things that I've noticed with a lot of new trucks is I don't know that they cater when I walk up to their truck.
Yeah.
And they'll say, oh no, it says it on the other side. When I drive down the street, you can see we cater. When I walk up to their truck, I have no idea that they cater. Did you guys see that initially, or how did you let people know that you actually you are available for catering?
So we have little postcards that we made. Again, Vistaprint 50% off is our best friend. We have these little catering postcards that we made as photos from different events that we've done, and we keep those on the truck, and so people can grab that, and they can grab little business cards or whatever. I think 500 of those cost us like $30 or something like that. It's money well spent, because the other thing that we do is we also have cards with our menus. So if you go to a lunch spot and you just grab one of these cards, the next time we come to your office building, you have our menu right there. You remember us. It's like, oh yeah, I got that pulled pork sandwich from them. And then you can also pass it around to your coworkers, like, oh, this is that place that I went to. So, relying on technology, but also relying on good old-fashioned.
Here's a flyer.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also we have an A-frame. We had an A-frame made that also says that we cater as well. And then it's on our website. On our website, on one of the tabs is actually a catering portal. And so when you go in there, you can fill out a catering form. You can look at, pictures from other things. So we do try to make it as easy as possible. And then answering our emails is really important, because people do expect a very quick response. Most people, I would say, actually wait till pretty close to when they're having the event to book a caterer. And so speed is definitely of the essence.
What I get is, did you get this? I was like, yeah, 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
So I think one of the most interesting things about your business has been that you've been a food truck, been a restaurant, and then you've also been a great organizer. So you started off going, what's a food truck lot? And now you run successful food truck lots.
I do.
It gives you a good, kind of a good understanding of what organizers expect from new food trucks. So if you could just touch on that. I think the big thing is, what do you look for when you are approached by a new truck that says, hey, we'd love to come to your lot?
Actually, their reputation is very important. So before I book a truck at a lot, I will look at their reviews online. I will ask other organizers and other food trucks, hey, do you know this truck? Have you worked with them? As sort of new food truck owners immerse themselves in the industry, I think they begin to realize how much people kind of converse, and it's a small
group.
Yeah, it's a small group, and it's a small world. And so I'll ask about their reputation, both anecdotally and also online, and then also the way that they interact with me. Are you fast at responding when I ask you for something? Are you friendly? Are you, the way that you treat me is going to be how you treat our customers. And so if you're rude, if you're abrasive, your chances are that's how you are, and so that's sort of my first, my first filter, I guess, for which trucks I work with. And then once I get to know trucks, the ones that I book over and over again are the ones who, one, you have food that the customers like. And so, if you're a good organizer, you'll get feedback from your customers, and more often than not, they'll tell you the ones they don't like. And so reputation is important in so many different ways. If you're reliable, if you show up when you say you're going to show up, if you open on time, if you pay on time, reliability is also extremely important, not just for me as an organizer, but if I'm going to refer business to you, even just as a food truck owner, I have to know you're going to reflect well on me. So reliability is really important. And I would just say general customer service. It doesn't matter how good your food is. It doesn't matter if you're there on time, you're open. If you are rude to your customers, if you are not providing good customer service, they're not going to care how good your food is.
Right.
And all of that reflects on the organizer. And that's, I think, how, some trucks get chosen to go back to locations and some don't. So those are the things that I look for.
I mean, one of the things that I try to tell trucks is not every day is going to be a home run. And if you treat the organizer that didn't give you a home run terribly, word's going to travel pretty quickly that you're difficult to work with. Now, obviously, if it happens over a couple times, then maybe you don't work with that organizer as a truck. But sometimes, we're lucky in Los Angeles that many of the organizers are actually food truck owners. So they do try to watch out for each other.
Yeah.
But when they get yelled at because maybe it started to rain that day,
then, I'm sorry I made it rain, guys.
And so that's really important, especially for new food trucks to understand, is you can, especially in an advanced market like here, you can work with anybody.
Right.
And if you're charging trucks $25, do you want to charge the guy that you know is reliable or the guy that you've never talked to before?
Exactly.
And I think there's a lot of frustration with newer trucks saying, oh, well, I can't get on any of these lots. How come nobody wants to work with me? When I say, well, what have you done to create your own customer base?
Yes. Yeah, no, I think you bring up a really good point. The first is, I think we need to exercise just a little bit of patience, because the success that comes with taking the time to build your reputation and your clientele base and all that, it does take time. And part of that is proving yourself. And so, if you're 2 months into the game, you're just not going to get into all of the lots, because if you're a smart organizer, which I think I am, I'm going to sit and watch and wait to know that I can rely on you. And that's how I'm able to run a good lot, And so there's that part of it. And then there's also the part where if you do want to get into these lots and you want to prove yourself sooner rather than later, then you create opportunities for everyone. So the reason why we started doing we started doing lots was, well, first it was born out of necessity, and two is because we simply needed more places to go. So we were booking lots where we were paying fees and we were not making our money back. We're losing money. And I said, we can't keep doing this. I've got to figure out a way to go to, especially dinners were very hard for us to fill on our calendar. So I started these lots myself. And the great thing about it was, I now had something of value to other food trucks. I now was an asset, and I could trade this lot for something that I wanted. And so that there was that benefit to us as well. And there are opportunities out there. As long as there are hungry people, there are opportunities out there. And the sooner that your truck goes and looks for those opportunities and finds them and shares them, the sooner you're going to be a valuable asset.
Right. And the thing I tell new food trucks is the pie is yay big. And if your idea for your business is just to take a piece of the pie that already exists, you're not doing anybody any favors. Try to make the pie bigger and provide more pie to everybody else as well as yourself.
Yes, bake more pie.
Yeah, more pie. And
more pie.
And the lots have become like the underground currency of the food truck industry.
Yes.
Like what I'll say to a new truck that says, oh, I can't get on lots. I said, would it be better if you called them and said, hey, I want to get on your lot? Or called them and said, hey, I've got a great opportunity. You should come with me.
Yes.
And then watch how quickly that you get to be on their lot. So, try to create something for people other than yourself.
Yeah. I think part of it too is we have to be humble in this business, and that's the sort of approach that we tried to take, is that these organizers are doing a service we pay for, but it's still a service. And we're not entitled to anything. Everything that we want, we earn. And so even with these lots, for example, I have new trucks that say, let me into your lot. And I say, see elite. Because there's no relationship there. I don't know you, you know, we need to have some sort of relationship, or I need to know something about you before you expect anything from me. And so I think, you know, we do have to approach our business with a little bit of humility and a little bit of understanding that it is give and take.
So one of the things that I've been noticing lately with the lots, which I think lots are a great resource, but I get nervous that sometimes the lot becomes the superstar. You know, where a customer just says, oh, I'm just going to go with that lot of whatever food truck's there, or a couple of food trucks, I'll just kind of eat. And so they recognize the lot, but then now they're not recognizing food trucks. And so one of the things I try to explain to trucks that are new is you got to get out there and make a name for yourself. And if the only place you're going is an established lot, then you kind of become a commodity, like a faceless commodity. And hopefully they like your food, but there's got to be, you know, developing a space on the street or going to a place that only you go to. And those are ways that you can start to develop your brand outside of this kind of established group of lots, which then will make it so more lot organizers will want to work with you because you're making your own name.
Yes.
And I think that we've seen less and less of that with the newer trucks. And so I'd love to see more of that as the industry progresses.
Yeah. I think it's partially a symptom of oversaturation. There are so many food trucks because the cost of entry is so low that there are constantly food trucks cycling in and out and in and out, that we can't expect the consumer to, one, remember all of the food trucks that are coming in and out of the industry, but two, to rely on you to even be there, you know, because, you know, so often we hear about customers who are like, I used to like this truck, are they even around anymore? And, you know, everything that we're talking about today is about staying power. And I think, you know, establishing yourself, your brand, and differentiating yourself is one of the keys. Not only do you have sort of the customer base that organizers and, you know, they want your customer base, like they want you at their event so that you can draw your fans and followers there. So you're an asset to the organizer, the person planning that event. But, you know, also when you go to an event, you're standing out, right, amongst, you know, all these sort of invisible trucks, you're standing out. And so I think it is really important to sort of, you know, differentiate yourself. One of the things that I've noticed a lot of trucks doing is a lot of trucks that are an existing concept. They've just replicated a concept that already exists. If your menu items are, you know, that people have had on many other trucks before, it's going to be hard for you to stand out. Asian fusion, the Korean tacos. I'm sure they're delicious. I'm sure they're delicious, but
there's been so many great Korean Mexican fusion or Chinese Mexican fusion that when I hear about it now, I'm like, wow, you really have to come with something just outrageously awesome because so many people have done it so well. I mean, you've got Kogi, you've got Boole. I mean, you have guys that have been in the business for a long time, really putting out great food.
Absolutely, and you know, so your concept has to be somewhat unique. Even if it's you're doing burgers, do something that's actually special, right? Like, you know, and so again, there are just so many food trucks out there. There's so much competition. Your branding should be on point, you know. As you sort of budget for, you know, your food truck, you should also be budgeting in a designer to design a logo that's actually going to be eye-catching, and a wrap that's
make your wrap look good. I mean, I see so many trucks that just, you know, put on a sticker on the side of the truck, and it just.
You know, unless you're Kogi and you can roll up in a white truck with a bunch of stickers on it, unless you're Kogi, you got to work a little harder. And here's another thing that we think about is that what's our end goal here? Like for Peaches, our end goal is we want to be at high-profile events. We want to be at the biggest and the best events. Well, is the person planning these big events going to want any old truck rolling up? They're going to want ones that photograph well. They're going to want ones that look pretty, you know, as a backdrop. And so we kind of have to think about the long game. And for us, you know, even though it's cost a little bit extra, there have been times where we've had to rewrap our truck. Like this happened a couple of years ago where something happened with our wrapper was starting to Rick, we didn't have the money, but the way that we present ourselves is so important that I scraped together the money to rewrap our truck because it just wasn't a good reflection. No one wants, you know, a truck at their wedding that looks like that,
Yeah, of course.
you know? Yeah, and so, you know, and the wraps are not cheap, but, you know, it's a worthwhile investment.
So this is my last question, and,
Okay.
and I'll tell you what I always tell trucks. I mean, like your big point. So one of the things I always say to trucks: never start a food truck in November.
Yeah.
It's like my golden. I mean, obviously I didn't tell you that.
Yeah, no.
But, that's like one of my golden rules. Never start a food truck in November, and make sure that you have a customer acquisition plan.
Yes.
Those are my two big things. What are your couple big things for the guy that's really interested in getting into it, and just doesn't even know what he doesn't know?
My 3 would be make sure that your food is on point. It doesn't matter how good your marketing is. It doesn't matter anything that you do. If your food's not good, you're going to have problems. There's just too much competition. 2 is going to be marketing. Again, there's oversaturation. There is this invisibility of a lot of new trucks. Everyone's experienced it because the market is so mature now. You have to find a way to differentiate yourself and to actually get on people's radar. And the third was there a third one? Oh, the third one was, the third point would be booking. You know, learn that as soon as possible. You know, trying to make it out there roving about, it's just a harder way to do it. The sooner you learn how to book well, and how to book quickly, and where to book, the sooner you're going to stabilize your business.
And you know, this is going to go out to not just people in Los Angeles. And understand, in Los Angeles, they're allowed to park anywhere. Food trucks are allowed to park
Right.
almost anywhere.
Right.
And even with that freedom, most trucks, 95% of trucks, are still going to try to book into locations and have something established and not just roll up on anything.
Right.
Which is different in most cities where they don't have freedom, so they have
Yeah.
to do it. Even though you don't have to, you want to.
Yes.
It gives you
And-
control.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. The more things you can control, the better. This is a great example. If you know where you're going to be, the sooner you can market where you're going to be, the more people will know where you're going to be, the more people will buy your food.
Yeah. And pulling up and hoping that there's a parking space,
Yeah.
not quite great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. And this is going to be a part of a bigger series, and your input has been great.
Oh,
Thank you
well,
so much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Good luck.